When I showed up to Special Forces as a brand new 18 Charlie, I thought I was prepared. I'd gone through the Special Forces pipeline. I threw on my Green Beret, threw on that long tab, but here's the truth. Nothing in the pipeline prepared me to manage a company's worth of equipment, to plan logistics for an international mission or operation, or to even be a good pistol shot in an elite community. And then later, when I went to the 160th, the same reality hit again. There was no step-by-step manual, no way to tell you how to manipulate flight controls. The only reason that I did not fail in both of these organizations is because of mentors, people that were willing to pour into me and give me the hard truths that I needed via tough love, and ultimately the tools that I needed to become successful in these units. As an 18 Charlie, Special Forces engineer, and all the other Special Forces MOSs as well, the Special Forces qualification course does not prepare you for everything once you get to an ODA, despite it being a year and a half, 2.5 years long. When I got to the team, inventories became my baby and became my task and purpose to be extremely successful at. My senior 18 Charlie was monumental in me conducting successful inventories because he had been doing it for a while and he had built systems and processes that worked for him that he was able to pass on to me. So as the junior Charlie, I took his efficiencies and improved on them. I took lessons learned that he told me about, things not to do, and I learned from them. And I was able to implement a system that was efficient and effective for me, but I could not have done that without him paving the way and teaching me the ropes on how to successfully do that. So inventories were just a start. On a grander scale, I had to learn how to deploy a company with logistics, people, and equipment through air travel. So I had to figure out how to get an entire company from point A to point B within the time allotted successfully through customs, everything under the sun to make it happen. And then also getting the company back from point B to point A. That's not just something you can Google. That is something that you have to rely on others who have done it before, who can show you how to do it effectively and accurately, because one little mistake can compromise an entire company's movement, which is a big deal in the grand scheme of things. And then on a more light note, humorous note, whatever, is everybody expects Green Berets to be these just stud shooters, and they are eventually. But when I first showed up to a team, I sucked with the pistol. It was so frustrating. I had the fundamentals, and I thought I was doing everything right, but I just sucked, man. My shot groups were all over the place. It just was not clean. And my senior Charlie was an amazing pistol shot, and he actually spent the time to invest in me and to make me a good pistol shot. So literally by the end of my first trip with the team, I had gone from being a terrible pistol shot to a pretty proficient pistol shot where I could compete with him. He'd still beat me. He'd still kick my ass, but I could compete with him and I could hang with him to some extent. So it's the power of mentorship, man. Without him, I would not have known the things I was doing wrong. I would have just kept trying trial and error by myself, and it would have taken me a lot longer to get to where I ended up, to being a good pistol shot. Years later, I transitioned to aviation and eventually made my way to the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment as a Blackhawk pilot. So I was back at square one, and the cockpit is so complex. It's full of so many complexities that it can be overwhelming as a new pilot trying to learn the helicopter, learn how to fly the helicopter, and do it successfully and at a precision level that the 160th requires. For example, there's tons of radios in the aircraft. At times, every single radio is going off in your ear. How do you listen to every single one? How do you know which one to listen to? How do you point out keywords and identify keywords that you need to hear and you need to be aware of? Well, that doesn't come by yourself. That comes by learning from somebody with more experience who tells you, hey, this is what you need to listen for on this radio. This is what you need to listen for on this radio. This is what you need to do if you hear this, etc. So that's where a mentor in the cockpit is one of the most valuable things for a junior pilot. And then another thing is like flying tendencies, right? So normally when a pilot comes down from a hover, they're going to have some forward drift. It's just natural. That's how your eyes are tracking. Your eyes are looking forward, and you just naturally track forward and land forward. Well, by yourself, you're not going to realize that because it may be only 3 to 5 feet that you drift forward. And In the grand scheme of things, that's not something that you're typically going to notice. But the person next to you will notice that because he is not the one coming down from the hover. So he can say, hey, Nick, on your approaches, when you come down from a hover, you're drifting forward about 5 feet. And it might not seem like a big deal, but it can be a big deal when there's an obstacle on the LZ, or there's a big slope or divot or something that we're trying to avoid that's 5 feet in front of us. So little things like that are where a mentor in the cockpit is literally the person that makes you the pilot that you eventually become. All right, so you get the point. Mentors are important. And I had mentors throughout my career that made me successful. So what's the so what for you? The so what is, if you don't have a mentor, find one. If you can find a mentor that is willing to not only pass on lessons learned from their experience because they've already walked your path, but is willing to tell you some hard truths or some things that you need to improve on, that is invaluable. That will make you more successful than they could be. Because the best mentors realize that you are the next generation. You are carrying the torch forward. And ultimately, when they're gone, they want you to be able to succeed at a level that they do or beyond. So those are the best mentors in the world. Those are what you want to cling on to. The ones that can tell you when you screw up, tell you when you do well, and make you the best person that you can be in whatever realm we're talking about. And I am so grateful that I had the opportunity to work with outstanding mentors throughout my career. If you've been shaped in one way or another by a mentor, then you owe it to the next generation to do the same. Pour into somebody. Find someone who looks like a junior version of you and teach them the way to become successful. Teach them all the lessons learned that you learned the hard way, because that's how iron sharpens iron, right? You can accelerate their career, and the best mentors make their mentee better than they could ever be, because that mentee has the benefit of learning from your wisdom and your experience. So don't be selfish. Pour into the next generation, because when you leave, they're going to be the ones carrying the torch, and you want that torch to be burning brighter. You do not want to leave the organization that you're in worse hands than when you got there or when you left. So that's how Special Forces guys succeed. That's how Night Stalkers succeed. And honestly, that's how everybody in life succeeds, is by clinging on to somebody who will guide you and be your sounding board. Subscribe for more of the journey. Thanks for watching. Thank you all for all of your support and amazing comments. I'm loving this, and I am grateful for every single one of you. Thanks.